All right, folks, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Well, in the chat, we are good to go. I'll just take a moment to get the confirmation from the chat and let's start. Awesome. Thank you. So these are tough times, which has in fact questioned various aspects of our human life. And I really want to kickstart our event today by acknowledging all the great work that you guys are doing out there for your employers, for your customers, and also for the people around you. And with that, I'd like to welcome you folks to the M365 Saturday 2020 virtual event. Once again, welcome folks. It's happy to have you on board with us. We are just starting in with close to 75 attendees, and I'm pretty sure in no time this is going to reach 200 or whatnot. So I'm just here. I'll keep it very, very short. I'm just here to help you with some housekeeping points about how we are going to run this event and how these sessions will look like, what are the breakout sessions and things of all that sort. It's going to be a very long day, so I'll keep it as short as possible. So what can you expect from our event today? As you all know, it is a 15-hour non-stop virtual event, the first of its kind happening in India. Of course, we had the M365 virtual marathon and the light up conferences, which were a much more bigger online event, but this is the next one followed by that. And we will be running two tracks in parallel. We have the dev track as well as the IT pro track. So folks, please go to the Eventbrite site. And in the Eventbrite site, just click on the session link. That's all you need to do. Just look for the time, click on the session link, and each and every session link has the Teams meeting URL inserted on it. Just click on it and we are good to go, right? So we are going to have deep dive sessions with loads of demos. So every session is going to be really, really deep dive. And when it comes to speakers, we made sure that we pick the best speakers in the world, right? So be it speakers from different parts of the world, we have MVPs, we have RDs, we have community experts, and we also have a lot of folks from the Microsoft Teams and SharePoint OneDrive engineering who will be joining us today in this event. Ask a lot of questions and because if you take a look at this event, each and every single session has its own meeting URL, which means you get to ask a lot of questions. But let me also tell you that the sessions will be running as planned. Now, what I mean by that is if a session is supposed to start at 11:30, and if you're in the previous session and for whatever reason you're asking questions, it is getting prolonged, we have to start the session on time, so we cannot wait for that, right? So please come back to the Eventbrite site, look for the session, click on the link and join whatever session you want to join. And we also have a special video message from the corporate vice president for Team, SharePoint, and OneDrive, Mr. Jeff Teper, and the principal PM for SharePoint PMP, Vesa, Juvonen, which I'll be playing in a few moments. So a big shout out to all the event organizers here, because without them, an event of this scale wouldn't have really been possible. So Vignesh, Ganesan, myself, I work as a technical specialist for Modern Workplace at Microsoft. Then we have Vijay Anand, who's a Microsoft MVP based out of UK. And then we have Kamlesh Rao, principal consultant. And then we have Lalit, who's a SharePoint specialist. And then we also have Maithili. So these were the guys who are behind this event. They were so instrumental in getting this organized. And without them, trust me, folks, an event of this sort wouldn't have really been possible. So our sponsors, once again, a big thanks to them. So we have Hubfly, Valo, and the Tech Platform who have been really spearheading this entire event right from the beginning. So be it from promoting the event, designing the banners, getting us whatever we wanted, they were always there with us to support. And I really want to take this moment to thank them for all the great work that they have been doing in getting this event to where it is as of today. So as I said, session guidelines, folks, pretty simple. Go to the Eventbrite site, click on the link, attend the session, and you're good to go. Q&As, I've just laid it out there. So every single session, folks, we would recommend to take the questions and answers. Let's keep it towards the end so that the speaker gets to finish his session. However, during the course of the session, if there are any questions that is coming up, maybe when somebody is doing a demo and you have a question on that, put it on the chat so that the speaker can grab it at a later point in time, right? And as I said, all these sessions are running on the time as mentioned in the agenda. So if you're spending too much of time asking questions in the same session, that is a possibility that you might end up missing next one. So please be mindful about that. With that, please join me in welcoming Deepak Rajendran, who's the influencer programs lead from Microsoft. So over to you, Deepak, to speak a few words about this event and also what is top of mind from your end. Let me bring it on to him. All right, Deepak, you're live.
Great. Thank you so much, Vignesh, and thanks to all the organizers. Thank you for all the hard work that's gone into making such an event possible, especially during this difficult time. I was looking at the agenda a couple of days when I was going through the details with Vignesh, and I was blown away. I don't think a community event of this size has been organized anytime in the recent past, especially given all these unfortunate times that we live in. So I'm sure this is a great example of all the amazing work that the organizers and all the volunteers have put in, and my personal thanks to everyone for doing this. Before I go any further into what I wanted to talk about, just a few quick mandatory words. Welcome to the M365 Saturday event that's being organized by the Gurgaon chapter. This is really a community initiative that's organized by a bunch of people who are excited about M365 as a technology platform and are here purely to share their technology knowledge with all of you. There really is no other such platform where you will find people who are all unified by this common passion. So I'm glad you're here. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this event in just a couple of seconds, but before that, I was courtesy a few words about myself. Like Vignesh said, I run the influencer programs for Microsoft, and I cover India and Middle East as my territories. And what do I mean by influencer programs? These are the programs that you might have heard while you encounter experts in the industry called as Microsoft MVPs, the most valuable professionals, and the Microsoft regional directors. So these are the wonderful people that I have the privilege of working with every day as part of my role. It's a brilliant experience because I get to see a lot of passion that's there. And as you can see, the amount of passion that's gone into running this event today, that's the amount of passion that I'm fortunate to see every day. And when a bunch of my MVPs were getting together to do this, I didn't want to waste an opportunity of coming here and giving my support to them, as well as having the wonderful privilege of talking to all of you on this beautiful morning. That said, I don't have, as you can see, I don't have any slides today. I'm just going to be doing a free-flowing talk. That's by design, not because I was too lazy to make a deck, but I usually like keeping my keynotes without any presentation, and because this is my way of reminding you people that there is a real reason for why you're here, right? On a Saturday morning, when you could have been doing so many things after a really, really busy week that you've had, you've chosen to wake up as usual, get set, and then log into this event, right? Think about the amount of passion that must have gone into that, right? You could have been doing anything else. You could have been watching a movie. You could have gone out for a walk. You could have played with your pets at home, or you could have spent time with your children and the rest of the family, or you could have even slept in for longer. It's a weekend after all. You chose to wake up and show up at this event, right? That's the passion that I want you to keep in mind as you go through the rest of this event, right? And my job here as a keynote speaker is to remind you of that, because oftentimes we're just so busy in actually doing the activity that sometimes we lose track of the kind of initiative that's gone into attending it. And I have the privilege of getting on these kind of sessions to remind you of that, of the background there, right? Because that's really critical as to why you're attending this event. The fact that I wish I could be doing this to a room full of people in person, but the fact that we're doing this virtually, right? You'll probably not be able to see everybody else in person, but then think about, visualize yourself in being a room with all these wonderful people who are also on the chat today, right? Imagine looking around this room and finding everyone else in the room who's just there in the same room because of one reason: the same passion for the platform and technology that brought you here, right? And think of the last time that you've been in such an experience, right? I'm sure you attend training classes, and I'm sure you have probably L&D sessions at your workplace and a whole bunch of other opportunities for you to learn, right? But more often than not, there are multiple reasons for people to being there, right? You know the reasons better than I do, so I don't want to go over that again. But imagine this platform where everybody here, regardless of where they come from and what they do, they're here because they've chosen to be here of their own free will and choice, right? And that's a beautiful expression of liberty that you are amidst, right? Every single person in this virtual room, other than you, is also here for the same level, for the same reason. When was the last time you were in such a kind of in a scenario, right? Probably at school, right? And that's why schools remain a great learning memory for us as we move on, right? So this is your experience of going through that again, right? So I wanted to keep that in mind, because the real objective or the real benefit of being in a community event will only be recognized if you keep that consistent through the rest of this journey, right? If you attend this just as an event, when you learn something, but you're truly not going to be reaping the benefits of being in a community completely. For you to do that, you should be able to stop and pause and realize a few things. One, like I told you, the community is a great way for us to bring people who are passionate together, right? What does that mean? That really means that in many ways it's a leveling ground, right? Like Vignesh said, there are a bunch of Microsoft employees who are doing this. There are a bunch of MVPs who are doing this. We also have a couple of executives who will probably be joining you through the rest of the day. There are a couple of product group engineers who are going to be here, who will be joining you. And then there are wonderful community leaders who are choosing to do this, who might be doing different things for a day's job, right? Imagine the collective power of bringing all these people at a common ground, right? When other do you have an opportunity to be able to meet these people and engage with these people and hear from them, right? So it's a great leveling ground. And the sooner you understand that, the more you'll understand the benefit of being able to talk to all these people and be able to gain from their collective experience, right? So please keep that in mind as you're networking. The second, and probably the more important thing, is the fact that communities as such is more like a journey, right? It's not an independent transaction. It's not an event that you attend, you consume the information, you thank people for it, and you move on. The beauty of community is it's the start of a beautiful journey, right? And the true benefit of attending these community initiatives will only be realized if you continue on the journey. Because today, the people here who are presenting are doing so because they were community members and they were attendees at a community event probably many years ago, right? But after years of learning through the community and perfecting their knowledge, I wouldn't say perfecting, I mean, they're still continuing to improve, because none of us are really at a stage where we can say that, okay, I'm done with my learning, I'm not going to do this anymore. But the fact that we're continuing to learn every day, and they're at a stage where they want to now come back and share that with you, right? That's the beauty of this engagement. So I want all of you also to be absolutely conscious of the fact that you have an opportunity too. Just because you're attending an event today, it doesn't mean that that's probably your role in this engagement. Many weeks down the line, you might have a topic, you might have something that you believe you're in a position to share with the rest of them. That's the time you should be reaching out to a Vignesh or a Kamlesh and asking them if you can get on the stage and do that, right? That's when this community will thrive. That's when it will grow beyond its seams, right? And that's really important, because the objective of being here is not just to learn, but also to share, right? And today, there are a bunch of people who we've already got in the agenda who are here to share, but we really expect you to come in and join the journey as well, right? So that's something that I really wanted to call out for you to be keeping in mind as you go through this whole thing, right? And again, the fact that this leveling ground has a bunch of people from different profiles who are here for a common purpose gives you the opportunity to do multiple things, right? For example, it can get you to learn things that you currently don't have access to from people, I mean, right? If somebody might have been there, or somebody probably is already working in a dream company of your choice or in a dream role that you always wanted to get into, right? This is your opportunity to find out what it takes for you to get there, right? This is your opportunity for you to find out what kind of technical skills you need to put on for you to be able to cover that dream, or basically what you need to do as your development plan to get there, right? Because there's no other platform where you'll get this access for you to be asking these questions from them, right? So again, the same thing goes to you as well. Somebody might be aspiring to be in a position that you're in today. This is your opportunity to, I coach is a big word, but this is your opportunity to give them the right kind of advice, to give them the right kind of tips that they will need to be able to cover that that void, right? And like I said, the more important thing for you to keep in mind is the fact that this is a place that brings together people who have the same kind of passion, right? So which means that tomorrow, when you have these little, as technologists, we all have this issue all the time, right? We have these little places where we are quickly stuck and we really need someone to quickly ping and ask for help, right? This is a platform for you to meet such kind of people who will be there with you through this journey. You know that they're also going to be working with you on the same platform day in and day out. And that gives you a beautiful power to be able to engage with them on a daily basis to ensure that not just learning, but then you're also in the experience together and you're able to watch out for each other and keep each other's back, right? And while you talk to them, ask them about the benefits that they've have seen by being in the community. I'm sure you'll love hearing from them as well. So, like I said, I wanted to leave the real crux of the agenda to the rest of the people, and I wanted to be like the person who reminds you of your objective of being here today. In many ways, I usually joke about this to people when I talk about what I'm going to speak in the session. I think more of myself as the appetizer that you get in a fine dining restaurant, right? So depending on the cuisine that you go to, you actually get an appetizer that reminds you of why you're there, right? You go to an Italian restaurant, they're going to give you a basket of bread. You go to a Punjabi restaurant, they're going to give you that papad and the whole works, right? So in many ways, I'm like that. I was here just to remind you of why you're here, to give you a sense of what's coming, to keep you to keep you excited about the great day that you have chosen to attend. I don't want to stand between you and the rest of the full course that Vignesh and the rest of the guys have put in together. But very quickly, I also want to give a quick shout out to all the MVPs and RDs, and of course the community leaders who've been here. This is a brilliant opportunity for them to come together and do this for you. For any of you who might be curious to know what the MVP and RD programs are, I don't want to take away too much time from here, but I'll leave you with the URL. It's mvp.microsoft.com and rd.microsoft.com for you to go and see at your convenience. And feel free to reach out to any of the wonderful speakers who are here today, and they'll be happy to tell you more as well. But think of this as Microsoft's small way of acknowledging all the amazing work that our community leaders do. With that, I think I'll turn it back to Vignesh. We have a great day ahead, and I don't want to take away too much time. Good luck. Thanks for choosing to be here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thank you for all your wishes, and thank you for taking the time to come all the way and give a wonderful speech. Thanks a lot.
It's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So folks, with that, let me quickly bring up the video message from Jeff Teper. So Jeff Teper has sent us a special video message for this event, since he couldn't be here virtually. But then this is something which I just had to ask him, and he was so kind enough to do this for this event. So let me play this to you folks.
Welcome, Jeff Teper from Microsoft, and I am excited to welcome you to this Microsoft 365 Saturday event. For those of you who don't know me, I created the SharePoint team many years ago, and now lead our focus on core collaboration in Microsoft 365 with Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And I'm very excited to be with you here today, virtually, to thank you all for being part of this Microsoft 365 community event. Whether it's in person or online. Welcome, Jeff Teper from Microsoft, and I am excited to welcome you to this Microsoft 365 Saturday event. For those of you who don't know me, I created the SharePoint team many years ago, and now lead our focus on core collaboration in Microsoft 365 with Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And I am very excited to be with you here today, virtually, to thank you all for being part of this Microsoft 365 community event. Whether it's in person or online, it's a SharePoint Saturday, a Microsoft Monday, a Teams Tuesday, whatever you call it, we're honored that you would put together an event and create a great sense of community and best practices around our technology. So please take a moment to thank the event organizers and all the presenters who've worked really hard to put on this event. We know this is an exceptional time with COVID and its impact on people's lives and how organizations of all sizes and types, schools and governments can continue. And it's a privilege and our responsibility to be able to step up and support all these organizations around the world. And this has clearly changed how we work. It has certainly accelerated adoption of cloud technologies, online meetings, and it's given it just a chance for us to work with so many organizations and learn so much about how our guidance and products should evolve in the future. Work we've done over the last few years together, this didn't happen overnight. In fact, some of you might remember back in 2008 at the SharePoint conference, Bill Gates announced Microsoft Online Services would be available for all customers. That was our first big bold moment in the cloud. And we started taking feedback and investing, and a few years later introduced Office 365 as our new brand for our cloud services. And continue to invest. A big moment for me was May 4th of 2016, where we introduced the new SharePoint experience, new user experience, modern development platform connections to what would become Teams via the group's infrastructure. And the next year, we introduced Microsoft Teams, our hub for teamwork, bringing calls, chats, and meetings in one place. And we announced that Office 365 had grown to 85 million monthly active users. 3 years later, on the third Teams anniversary, we were able to share that Teams had grown to 75 million daily active users, part of the 250 million monthly active users that Office 365 used, and that SharePoint was growing faster than ever, adding more users every day than ever before. In fact, 10 times growth in SharePoint in just the last 4 years. So thank you so much. Your investment in Office 365 helped us invest in data centers and features and being part of events like this. And we were really grateful for the opportunity to serve the needs of organizations around the world. We're moving faster than ever, and sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming. And so people have asked me to just make it simple. How do you think about your strategy? Well, Satya has outlined that Microsoft 365, our ambition is to be the world's productivity cloud to help organizations and individuals of all sizes around the world achieve more. And I think when it comes down to it, we're in our part of Microsoft 365 focused on the core collaboration services, communications with Microsoft Teams, and content with SharePoint. And we think about this for end users, developers, and IT. And there's a lot there, I won't go through it all, but just the two big pieces from us is Microsoft Teams is our hub for teamwork. It brings together all those communication services, chat, calls, meetings, and collaboration tools, including SharePoint, but many more, into one place. And then we've got SharePoint, which powers all our intelligent content experiences, of course, inside Teams, but inside OneDrive, in gorgeous SharePoint sites, our new knowledge experiences with Microsoft Cortex for generating topics across Microsoft 365. So Teams for communications, SharePoint for content, you bring them together, you get collaboration. And so we think about this both as the foundation that we're building on for the future, but also how people should build applications. We sit on the layer of Azure services, the Microsoft 365 graph, and the Power Platform, and then people can build apps on the communications and content services that we provide. Again, inside Teams, inside the browser in a SharePoint site, inside a custom app, it may be a Power App, or just about anything else you can imagine building on Teams and SharePoint. So with that, That's a quick overview of what we're doing. You'll see our virtual Ignite conferences coming up. We'll be sharing a lot more news there. And thank you so much for all your support of Microsoft 365.
Thanks for those the wonderful video message from Jeff.
Welcome,
from
Jeff Teper from Microsoft.
Vesa.
Welcome everybody to this Microsoft 365 Saturday Gurgaon, and I do apologize, probably the pronunciation wasn't really perfect, but I don't know how to do that more better than that one. So my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal program manager from the OneDrive SharePoint platform team, and I also run the Microsoft 365 Patterns and Practices program. And super excited to be here, do a quick intro for you. I have a few slides to go through. I have only 5 minutes, which means that we'll be slightly rushing because there's so much cool stuff to go through. But then at the same time, there's a brilliant set of speakers coming up later today who will go through more detailed on the things and capabilities which I mentioned also during this setup. Now, as part of the intro, you probably already had a discussion or a video where Jeff Teper welcomed you, and he showed actually this slide, and it is actually a really important slide to kind of spend slightly time from an extensibility perspective as well. We Microsoft, we are investing and focusing heavily on the Microsoft Teams, not forgetting about the SharePoint, because behind of the Microsoft Teams, we are always using SharePoint. And it's not just about the files and lists, it could be the extensibility as well, which is really, really cool. And behind of this collaboration platform with Teams and SharePoint, we always are using Azure behind of the scenes, and you can easily access the Azure services. We're using the Microsoft Graph as the API to get access on the latest information about the persona or the organization. And then you have the awesome option of Power Platform as well, which can be used as from a citizen developer perspective on extending the Microsoft Teams or a SharePoint or outside of those as well. So really the value and the thinking here is that this is not a competition. Which one of these you're actually using? There's multiple options, and the right option for you might depend on your, or will depend on your business requirements. So it's not a competition again. Try to figure out what is the right option for you. Now, I'm from the OneDrive SharePoint engineering side, and we are the people behind of the SharePoint framework, which nowadays is focusing more and more also for Microsoft Teams. So it used to be more on SharePoint, but even though the name is SharePoint framework, you can actually build extensibility for Microsoft Teams. So you can build custom tabs, personal application, and task modules with the same code set, same modern stack development, TypeScript, and all of those goodies for your implementation. So really cool stuff, same extensibility, which can be surfaced in the SharePoint or in the Microsoft Teams. Given all of the benefits of SharePoint framework, which says that it's automatically hosted, there's modified, optimized experience, authentication is automatic, there's an automatic single sign-on when you're actually taking advantage of these things. And a really, really cool thing is that the same piece of code actually works on both sides. So it's super, super cool stuff. And there's more and more focus on this kind of a easy way of using SharePoint framework in the Microsoft Teams in the future without forgetting the SharePoint. Obviously, SharePoint is always behind of the scenes, and you can absolutely use SharePoint framework in the modern portals and lists and in the team sites and communication sites as well. But the same web part, which you can use in the SharePoint page, can be actually surfaced as a Microsoft Teams tab without any code changes, and that's actually pretty mind-blowing. Without worrying where the code is being hosted, because it's hosted automatically from SharePoint. So we're looking into making SharePoint framework absolutely the easiest way to do extensibility in Microsoft Teams for the professional developers. So for those people who want to implement TypeScript-based extensibility and potentially call an Azure behind of the scenes for web APIs and all of that stuff. So really cool stuff, absolutely. Now, one of the things what we also execute behind of the scenes, I want to make sure that everybody is interested and have an opportunity to get involved. I think we've all been there. We've been trying to figure out how would I there's a customer requirement and I need to do that. And especially nowadays that many of us have to work from home, we're kind of figuring out this by ourselves. So the Microsoft 365 Patterns and Practices initiative exists so that everybody across the world can get help, samples, guidance on how would I implement Microsoft Teams extensibility, how would I implement web parts using SharePoint framework. And this initiative has existed already for quite a few years, and you can find more details around that one in AKMS M365 PMP. That small address is coming up on the screen in a second, but really there's a lot of guidance and samples available. We have samples for Microsoft Teams extensibility. bots, tabs, not just SharePoint framework stuff, but obviously actual bots which are running in bot framework, actual web application which are running in Azure. We have SharePoint framework web part samples, which all of them can be actually executed in Microsoft Teams as well, which is really cool. And all of this stuff is available for you for free. Take advantage. So you can go and find a sample and take a look on it and start using the similar code within your implementation. It's an MIT license. It's available for everybody to take advantage. The SharePoint Framework extension samples, absolutely available for you. And there's also Microsoft List and SharePoint List formatting definitions, super popular set as well. So people are able to actually extend extensibility within the list as well. So if you're interested on getting started, please go AKMS M365 PMP. This is the location where you can find all of the open source assets, all of the open source projects, all of the different things relevant for you to helping you to be successful. So we are absolutely welcoming every single person across the world being part of this community. But that's it from my side. I didn't have that much time, actually, unfortunately. So thank you for your time, and thank you for inviting me here to talk about what's available for you. And please, please, please let us know what kind of guidance is needed, sample is needed, what kind of things you need to be successful as a developer or an architect or a citizen developer in the Microsoft 365 platform. Your input is super valuable for us. So thank you.
All right, folks, so that was a wonderful video message from Jeff, Deepak as well, and we also had Vesa joining us. And so the next content that we have is this gentleman. I believe he doesn't need any introduction. So every time I go to Europe, I get to see him. You might have seen his sessions, you might have attended his sessions. So I always wanted him to do an event for India. But unfortunately, during these challenging times, it was not possible for him to make it in person. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't steal him for a virtual event of this sort. So with that, I would like to turn it on to Gokan, who has been a most known member in the M365 community. He's a Microsoft MVP and he's also an RD. So Gokan, let me bring you on live and already, you're good to go.
Okay, let me share my screen and just give me a heads up when you see the first slide of my presentation.
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from the north to the west, to the east, to the south. My name is Gokan Ozcifci, and I'm extremely happy and proud to be doing the keynote of the M365 Saturday in Gurgaon. Like Vesa, my apologies for the bad pronunciation, but I'm so humbled to be here to talk about the state of the art, the evolution of Office 365. Vesa, Jeff Teper, they're all talking about how SharePoint is important within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And my talk today is to show you from where we came and where
Gokan,
we go.
are you sharing something? Sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing your screen? We are not able to see your screen.
I am sharing the screen, but let me check. So stop the sharing and restart the sharing. So just say me if you see my screen.
Yes. Yep, you're good to go now.
Oh, okay, there you go. So I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a small keynote of 25-30 minutes, and what I'm trying to explain to you is where SharePoint is located, how important SharePoint is in Office 365, in M365, and definitely try to give you insight on where we go, because that's the most important part of our job. We have to know where we go. So the first thing I'd like to express my session is from the Fortune 500 lists in 1955, almost 90% of them are gone. What does that literally mean? That a company who is leading the industry, which is defining the best practices, who is actually shaping the future, well, in almost 50, 60 years, they don't exist anymore. And after research I've made, it looks like they actually refuse to digitally transform. Those were organizations who still remained as it was in the first time. So they didn't want to use a PC. They didn't want to use any digital tool to go further. and 90% they don't exist anymore. That's a huge number. And one of the wonderful quotes I find anytime talking about digital transformation is the following one from Charles Darwin, which says, "It is not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent. It's actually the one that is most adaptable to change," right? So this goes from the human being as from organizations to the tools that you're working with. Every tool, every kind of platform, framework that you're actually working with is changing. And if you don't follow that change, well, you will not survive that much. And looking to the CEOs, there is research done, and it mentions that almost 72% of the global CEOs doesn't believe that it's going to be a hectic year. It's going to be like a critical year for the coming 3 years, upcoming maybe 10 years. And one of the major reasons is that those CEOs, well, they had static roadmaps. Take the example of a SharePoint server, an Exchange server, a Windows server. Well, it was easy. They invest their money, they built their infrastructure, the core infrastructure, the legacy applications, and they could use it for 10 years, for 15 years. Who cares? But today, with the mobile first, cloud first era, within M365, within Azure, well, you can't have static roadmaps anymore. Everything is dynamic. Any tool can come and any tool can disappear. So they know, any CEO knows for the organization that actually the industry will be very, very, very critical from the last 50 years. And this man is the biggest revolutionary guy I've ever seen in my life. And I know it can be like surprising to see an Apple guy into the slide, but it will make a lot of sense. This guy invented the iPhone. His passion for the smartphones, his passion for actually removing the keyboard and saying like everything should be done by your smartphone is actually the baby steps of what we are living now. Because without his passion, without his way of doing stuff on the iPhone, I think we would never come here. Because his passion to say like everyone should have a smartphone and everyone should do work with a smartphone actually has led to a strategy change. Like even Microsoft has changed to come to the mobile first and cloud first era, because we know that maybe not everybody has a PC home, but we know that everybody has at least a smartphone home. So building applications on the mobile first cloud first era does make a lot of sense. Microsoft changed, and let me give you a few examples. Everybody remembers this guy, right? Steve Ballmer. It was the CEO of Microsoft a few years ago, and he wasn't that, I don't find the correct word to him, but it was the guy who could easily fire some Microsoft people because they were not using the Windows phone, or he was forcing everybody to use Windows and not using Apple, etc., etc. So Microsoft said, hey, let's change, and they went for this guy, for Satya Nadella, which I'm pretty sure which is well known in India as well. And that guy completely changed the structure and the vision of Microsoft. And instead of saying like, hey, you have to use only Windows devices, well, use anything that you want, but finish your job, right? He opened his arm for Linux, and we've seen a lot of slides like Azure loves Linux, right? Where that every single platform is welcome into the Microsoft ecosystem. So Microsoft completely changed his structure, his way of saying stuff with the ecosystem. Please be mind, not every change is good, or not every change is so easy to manage. And here is an example of Apple when Steve Jobs died. This is like how looks the iPhone 11. It is funny. I've seen this meme like a few months ago. Please, like, the change is good, but it has to be a good change. Another one, and I'm really sorry if we have American friends into the room. It is a little bit political, but you would definitely understand. Like changes, yes, we need changes, but we need good changes. Not every change is good for the organization. Not every change is good for you. And here is the quote about the change. Progress is impossible without change. We know that we have to change. However, George Bernard Shaw said we shouldn't be calling it a change management anymore, but let's go for a progress management. We should call this a progress management, yes, because we are not changing. We are just progressing to something more. Look to the SharePoint of 10 years ago. Look to the Outlook of 20 years ago. Look to Windows of 10 years ago. It's still the same. It still has the foundations of what it had like 10, 20 years ago. However, it has gone a major progress, a major change. And now we are just working with the cream of what we have. So coming back to Microsoft 365, so we know the strategy, we know how we can make SharePoint great again. Let's see why we have failed so much with SharePoint projects in the backend, because we all have like SharePoint backgrounds, right? So whenever we had like, hey, a business is asking like, should I use a small team site or a project site? Well, I always responded, hey, use SharePoint. We have nothing else. When you ask for an intranet, an extranet, a public-facing website, the IT guy said use SharePoint for archiving, reporting, planning, tasking, file server, even for social, for large team sites or project sites, even for enterprise social network. The IT guy had only one answer: use SharePoint. And I think that was the major issue that we had with those SharePoint systems like 10 years ago, because we aimed to use SharePoint for everything and people just didn't like that ideology. So here is an example how the IT guy is thinking. Like he only says like SharePoint 2007. After 3 years, I migrate to SharePoint 2010. After 3 years, I migrate to SharePoint 2013, and then maybe I will go to Office 365 and then go further. However, that's how the business is thinking. Okay, they know we had SharePoint 2007. They know they have to wait 3 years to get SharePoint 2010. They know they can get SharePoint 2013, but they don't think about the servers, or they don't think about the platforms that you're installing. They want to use the features. They want to use Facebook. They want to use Slack. They want to use the Amazon Web Services. They want to use Office 365. And how you did set up them, or what did you do for authentication or security, that's not their mind. They just want to use it. They just want to use the innovation services that you have today. And why they want to do that? Because we live literally in a services era. When you look at the largest taxi company, well, it has no taxis. Uber, it's a service. When you look to the largest accommodation provider, which has no real estate, Airbnb. Largest phone company owns no telecom infrastructures like Skype and WeChat. World's most valuable retailer has no inventory, Alibaba. The most popular media owner creates no content, Facebook. The fastest growing bank, PayPal. And the world's largest movie house owns no cinema, Netflix. All of them are services that we use daily. And it is actually quite not possible to say to businesses, to your content creators, to your webmasters, to say like, hey, we know you've been using services all the time, but for the work you can't do that. Well, they will say, no, I want to use it. I want to use those services in my organization as well. And this is like the evolution, what Jeff Teper was mentioning, and he clearly mentioned that in 2011, the baby steps of Office 365 were born. And you can see how more we go in time, how more you can see that SharePoint and SharePoint Online and Microsoft 365, well, they become almost the same. When you look like the SharePoint server modern paging experience to the SharePoint Online modern paging experience, well, you can see that there is almost the same. It's not the same. You have a bunch of differences, but you can see that they go on the same way, right? And at the end, I'm pretty sure that whenever we go in the theory of evolution, well, you will see that in the coming years, it will resemble more and more to the same. And this is like one question. How many of you remember the first wheel of Microsoft? And therefore, I'm going to take my laser, just there we go, this one. This one was the first wheel of Microsoft presenting SharePoint 2010 with the sites, communities, content, search, insights, etc., etc. Then we had an evolution to Office 365, where we said, oh, like, hey, let's kill SharePoint and let's call it sites. Oh, we have the other groups and OneDrive for Business, and the graph, which was called the Office graph. The Power BI, and then the apps. And then we moved, we progressed, we changed to the whole wheel with all of those services coming in. And this is a wheel like from 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm pretty sure that wheel is now way bigger than it was like I'm showing here. It has changed, it has evolved. And when I have to explain to my customers what is Microsoft 365, what are the core components, the underlying scenarios, well, you have to place the wheel in the center, in the middle. Then you can say like, hey, I'm running Windows 10. On top of that, you need to have Windows 10 as a service to access to your desktop, to use your Windows operating system, and to use those services. They're all extensible through the Power Platform, and Jeff and Vesa clearly said that this is like one of the most important platforms that you can find in M365, because the Power Apps, Power BI, or Power Automate, well, those are services that will help you create your applications outside of the Office 365 ecosystem, and then use that application and data insights. Secure them with services that comes through Azure, or like the privileged identity management, Intune, multi-factor authentication, etc., etc. Connected to Azure, connected to the graph, and managed by Azure AD or Azure AD Connect if you're using still a local Active Directory. So this is Microsoft 365. This is today how I see how I can explain this on an easy way to my customers with Windows 10 as a service, with Office 365. On my right side, the extensibility model. On my left side, the security connected to the graph and to Azure for user management. This is how we came from SharePoint server to this architecture. However, Microsoft didn't stop. They said we have to change because we need to innovate daily to bring new customers, potential customers, into our ecosystem. And the electric light did not come from the continuous improvement of candles. That's another quote that I really love. You may add more service, you may add more services into Office 365, you may add more SharePoint sites, more teams, but you will not innovate from that. You have to change. And when we look to Satya Nadella's keynote like 2 years ago at Ignite, he clearly mentioned that the vision of Microsoft 365 was to get graphs talking to each other, like the M365 graph, the LinkedIn graph, and the Dynamics graph, all of them talking to each other. And the data that could come from M365 would be available into Dynamics and vice versa. And all the data could be gotten by the common data service, Dataflex, or any new name that will announce at Ignite through bots and connectors, Power Apps, Flow, or Power BI. This is the vision of Microsoft, that where we want to go. And Project Cortex is actually one of the baby steps that we have getting into that new vision. And when you look on the SharePoint perspective, well, we see it like this is like on the left side, the classic internet that we had, where the information moved slowly, where we had actually a hierarchy. We moved to the digital workplace where everything is connected because we have a flat architecture. Communication goes very fast and information comes to you. You don't have to go to information. Information comes to you. We can clearly see the baby steps from a SharePoint perspective about Satya's vision. This was my most preferred slides to present at events because this showed how you could use the Office 365 artifacts into your organization. You have like multiple groups, such as the individual, a group, a team, a department, and an organization. And depending the criticity of or the priority of your communication, well, you can use those tools. Like if you are on an individual basis and it is a low priority, well, you could use OneDrive. If it's in a group, team, or department, you can use SharePoint, the modern team sites. On an organization perspective, well, you could use SharePoint intranet, video, or use Yammer. However, whenever it became extremely important on all the perspective, on an individual, you could use Skype for Business, you could use Skype for Business online meeting, or Skype for broadcast for organizations, and all of that connected to analytics. This was extremely helpful for customers, for partners, because they could respond to have what to use when. They knew when should I use which tool to do some kind of work. But however, then Satya's vision of having everything connected, getting the data from each other, well, from a business perspective, that's not easy. And that's the reason why I think we have SharePoint today, Teams today. It's because every single artifact of Office 365 is connected into that one single capability, into that one single experience, into that one single hub. You drop your files into Teams, well, it's using SharePoint. You want to do automation, well, you can use Flow, Power Automate. You want to build your applications, use Power Apps. You want to do planning, use Planner. You want to have conversations, audio, video, it's all through Teams. Like Vesa mentioned, you want to bring your SharePoint framework solutions and use them into Teams, well, go for it. It uses the Microsoft 365 groups, the bots framework, shifts. Actually, it's using everything. And every single feature that we have today, which comes on the market, such as Project Cortex, such as lists, such as the new task engine page that we will get, well, they will be all working on Teams, because Teams is the hub for collaboration, and every single feature that we will have will basically be working on Teams. So how do we actually now combine Satya's vision of having all the graphs connected with Microsoft 365, with LinkedIn, with Dynamics 365, and then apply the M365 architecture? But very simple. We come to a new graph like this, and now I have to take my pencil again. So you would have, instead of the wheel, the graphs of LinkedIn, Dynamics, and Office 365 connecting and talking to each other, where actually the data, any data, could be your data, organizational data, web data, real world data, is searchable through M365 search, or you can even build your applications with getting the data through the graph, all connected to Azure for the user management, extensible with the Power Platform, secured by the tools such as Intune, Privileged Identity Management, Multi-Factor Authentication, but also a new layer of the web browser, like Edge and Bing for Business. Like whenever you connect on Bing for Business, well, you can already access data, documents from your homepage. If you even go connect on Edge, well, you can do the same. So this is, I think, and again, this has nothing to do with Microsoft slides. These are my slides. This is how I see where we go. The M365 is actually bigger, broader than only having the wheel. It is actually having all of those artifacts of LinkedIn, Dynamics, and Office 365, which will bring the whole power of M365. So, to recap, today's companies can't actually use the 19th century management and 20th century tools to do 21st century work. We have to change. Actually, we have to progress. We have to take advantage of what Jeff, what Vesa, or what the engineering team is proposing to us. They're innovating every single day. We get new features every single day. We get new artifacts every single day. We have moved from having classic legacy environments, and we go to a fail fast, learn fast ideology. And I would highly recommend you to not to be scared to use, test, and learn from that. And I really hope that from this 30-minute keynote that you have learned at least something about the vision, about the strategy, and from where we came and where we go. I really hope that you will progress and share this with people that you love. Thank you so much for attending this one. My name is Gokan Ozcifci, and you can find me on Twitter, xgokan, and I think I'm just on time, just 2 minutes before the sessions are starting, right?
Yep. Thank you so much. Thanks for the wonderful keynote message, Gokan. And with that, folks, we will be starting our breakout sessions. So before we even start, since I've got a lot of questions on the Q&A, let me just quickly take a moment to just address them. I just want to walk you through the Eventbrite side, and then you can all disconnect from this meeting and go to the breakout sessions. So whatever you're seeing now here, this is the Eventbrite site, folks. Just go to the Eventbrite M365 Saturday Gurgaon. And as I was talking, we have 2 tracks running in parallel. For those who are interested on the dev track, just come here and click on this session. That's just a click and you'll be inside the meeting, right? And for those who are interested on the IT Pro track, just come here and click on this, right? So in the next couple of minutes, we will be kickstarting the breakout sessions. If at all you have any questions at any point in time, the organizers' details are given below. Email address or our mobile numbers are given below. So please don't hesitate to call us, and we are more than happy to help you. With that, thank you, folks, and let's dive into the breakout session. So Gokan, see you there.